Welcome to another episode of Track It. This one is slightly different because I'm not working on the Cup, but instead I'm working on my 2009 135i. This car has got the n54 engine in it, which is pretty famous in the States for making just ridiculous wheel horsepowers. But here, where we don't have ethanol, it's pretty good for about 450 bhp with some bolt-on mods. Since I bought this car, I've had a few things done to it, like I've had the turbos replaced because that's a common issue. I've had the high pressure fuel pump done and a few other bits as well. Last weekend I cleaned the valves out, which I'll put in a clip of that now so you can see how bad they were. And since then I've had a couple of problems with the map where right in full wide open throttle it's been pulling timing at the top. So that's a misfire, which you can slightly hear in the clip that I'll play of it idling now. And it has always been there, but it's been a little bit accentuated by remapping the car with MHD and also putting decat downpipes on it. Today I'm going to be changing the coil packs and plugs because they're an unknown quantity in this car at the moment. So let's go over to the bench and I'll show you which bits I'm changing them for. These are the bits I'm going to fit to the car then, and you really don't need to be a genius to fit something like this. It's all pretty simple. These are 6 coil packs. These are the latest revision Eldor coils for BMWs, and they started with Bosch, then they went to Delphi, and now they're at Eldor, which are meant to be the most reliable. Then I've got heat range colder plugs. These are NGK 97968. I've got a heat range colder because I'm trying to run more power in the car, and it would be advisable to go down a heat range. And I've gone for the NGKs because you can gap these plugs. These plugs come with a gap of 28 thousandths, but I'm going to gap them to 20 thousandths because I'm trying to run about 80 or 90 horsepower more in the car than standard. Then you need one of these special spark plugs. This is a 12-point thin wall spark plug socket, and that's because the spark plug tubes are very, very small on a BMW, and these are 12-pointed spark plugs. And the last thing is some dielectric grease. These cars are pretty known for getting crazing in the ceramic, so you just put a little dab of this on the ceramic to stop that happening. So now I've gone over the bits, let's get the old plugs out, have a look at them and chuck these in the car. Got the cabin filter off and the engine cover. This is where the coils and the plugs are. So these are the coils. You just pop this up and then this plug comes off them. Then you can just pull these out, get your spark plug socket in there and unwind the plugs. Hopefully the plugs aren't too tight. I say, I don't know when they were last changed, but let's pull them out and see what condition they're in. There is an awful lot of oil in there, so I think the valve cover gasket is leaking, sadly. That is how coated the socket is when I pull it out of the spark plug hole. Okay, not really what I wanted to find, but this is cylinder 1 over here and this is cylinder 6. So I think the valve cover gasket is leaking, which is going into the spark plug holes, but I can't really tell anything from any of these plugs. They are all pretty disgusting. 5 and 6 are a little bit better. The valve cover gasket doesn't seem to be leaking quite as badly there, but cylinder 1 and 3 were pretty much half full with oil, so that's probably not helping us get any good power. So the coil packs, as I thought, they're all Bosch, and as you can see all of the tips are wet with oil. This is what I've done in each of the spark plug holes, is I've just tried to get out as much of the oil as I possibly can, and it's turned out pretty okay. I think this will be a really good benchmark to see when I take them out again, or when I do the valve cover gasket. It will prove whether they're leaking or not, whether these have oil in them. You can see in the cavities in between these kind of bits here and over here, you can see there is some oil pooled in there, so I'm pretty sure this gasket is leaking on this. Not a major job to change it, but a little bit of a pain in the bum, because as you can see there's quite a lot attached to the valve cover. I'm really not doing anything special here to get my plugs. I've got a set of feeler gauges, and I've got the plug and I've got the vise here, and all I'm doing is I'm pushing the plug up against the vise, and then every time I do that I'm checking the gap. Okay, so I can just about get the feeler gauge in there now on 20 thousandths, so that's that plug done. I've got the other 6 to do, so I'll do that, and then we can put a little bit of copper slip on here to stop these seizing in the head, and then we'll chuck them in the car. So one of the last things I'm doing before putting the spark plugs in the car is putting a coat of this dielectric grease on the ceramic portion of the spark plug, and the idea of this is to stop any crazing, or basically preventing the spark, instead of happening here, happening in the ceramic itself. So I'm putting a coat of this stuff on the ceramic portion of the plug, making sure I don't get it on the metal at the end where the current goes through. Then I'm putting them straight in the car with some copper slip on the thread, because this stuff is pretty sticky and it's obviously going to attract grease. So one plug at a time, dielectric grease here, copper slip here, going straight in the car, not torquing them up yet. I'll do them all in a second, and then we can get the coils in. That's it, the car is all back together. I've started it up and it is still misfiring just a very small amount, but all of the oil that was in the spark plug holes, as much as I tried to get it out, some of it did go down into the cylinders, so it's probably burning that off at the moment, and obviously that doesn't help the combustion. It's also smoking out the exhaust white quite a bit, which is that oil as well, but I'm going to take it out for a drive now. Once the white smoke has gone, which hopefully it will pretty quickly, then I will do a log in 3rd gear, and hopefully we don't have as many of the timing corrections that I did beforehand. Now, timing corrections is part of the standard map, so I'm not expecting to lose all of them, but hopefully this will be an improvement, and it's of course good to know that I've got a solid ignition system on the car. So that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. I'll post up a graph of the timing corrections after this, but I will see you in another episode very soon.